The Great Wall of China, 1368 to 1644, almost destroyed. The Great Wall of China, one of the wonders of the world, has existed for over 2,000 years and has been in danger of collapsing several times. During the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, its maintenance became too expensive for the state. Some emperors thought it would be easier to dismantle the wall for building materials for other needs. However, the strategic importance of the wall for protection against northern nomads kept rulers from dismantling it completely. If the wall were dismantled, we would lose one of the most important architectural monuments and a symbol of Chinese culture. The first rabies vaccine almost stopped, 1885. Louis Pasteur, who developed the first rabies vaccine, barely managed to save it from criticism and banning by the scientific community. When 9-year-old Joseph Meister was bitten by a rabid dog, Pasteur decided to experiment, despite the lack of official permission. If the treatment had not worked, Pasteur could have been accused of unethical behavior, and vaccine development would have been stalled for years. However, his success marked the beginning of modern vaccinology. The nearly destroyed pyramids of Giza, 19th century. In the 19th century, the Egyptian ruler Muhammad Ali, seeking to modernize the country, considered using the stones from the Giza pyramids to build a dam on the Nile. The project was started, but was stopped due to the enormous cost of dismantling the stones and public outrage. If the pyramids had been dismantled, the world would have lost an ancient wonder of the world that still stands today. The almost lost Battle of Britain, 1940. During World War II, Britain found itself under massive attack from the Nazi Air Force. The decisive moment of the war depended on the training of the RAF and its ability to cope with a numerically superior enemy. Pilots often ran out of fuel and barely made it back to base. However, Germany's strategic mistake, switching from attacking airfields to bombing cities, gave Britain time to recuperate. Had this not happened, Germany could have invaded the islands, changing the course of the war. Almost abolished Hollywood, 1920s. In the 1920s, Hollywood, just beginning to become the world center of the film industry, faced a censorship crisis. Many considered films immoral, and conservative forces demanded that the studios be closed down completely. To avoid this, the studios created the Hays Code, a system of self-censorship. If Hollywood did not adapt, it could cease to exist or lose its global influence. Yellowstone's near-deadly eruption. The Yellowstone caldera is one of the most powerful supervolcanoes on Earth, capable of destroying much of North America. Yellowstone has shown signs of activity several times over the past thousands of years, but has been spared from eruption. If the supervolcano were to erupt, the consequences would be catastrophic: millions of lives, a climate winter, and the destruction of the global economy. The almost vanished Colosseum, Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, the Colosseum in Rome was used as a quarry, and its marble slabs were taken apart to build churches and palaces. Only the intervention of the Catholic Church, which declared the Colosseum a sacred place because of the martyrs, stopped further destruction. If this had not happened, today we would not be able to admire this unique monument of antiquity. Almost shot down Mir Station, 1997. The Mir space station suffered a serious accident after the Progress cargo ship crashed into its solar panels. The collision could have led to a complete depressurization and the death of the crew. Thanks to the heroic actions of the cosmonauts, the station was restored. If this had not been possible, the Mir program would have ended earlier, and the development of international cooperation in space could have slowed down. The almost cancelled Atlantic Internet Cable, 1858. The first transatlantic telegraph cable connecting Europe and America was laid in 1858. However, during the testing phase, the cable broke several times. Only the persistence of engineers allowed the project to be completed. If the cable had not worked, global communication would have developed much more slowly, which would have slowed down scientific and economic progress. The Nipah virus near pandemic, 2018. In 2018, the Nipah virus caused an outbreak in India, killing 70% of those infected. The virus is transmitted from animals to humans, and then from human to human. Due to the quick actions of local authorities and health workers, the outbreak was stopped in its early stages. Had this not been possible, Nipah could have become a new global pandemic comparable to COVID-19. Nearly extinct whales, 20th century. Whaling peaked in the 20th century, pushing many species to the brink of extinction. An international ban on commercial whaling was only passed in 1986. Had it been passed later, the largest marine mammals could have disappeared forever, disrupting marine ecosystems. Almost lost Stonehenge, 19th century. In the 19th century, Stonehenge was in a deplorable state. Some stones fell, others were taken apart by local residents for construction. Only the efforts of archaeologists and patrons allowed the restoration of the monument to begin. If the work had not begun in time, Stonehenge could have disappeared, leaving the mystery of ancient cultures unsolved. The nearly drowned New York subway, 2012. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 was one of the most destructive storms in New York City. Water flooded the subway tunnels, paralyzing the largest transportation system in the United States. Engineers and rescuers worked around the clock to pump out millions of gallons of water and restore service. If the restoration had taken longer, the city's economy could have suffered huge losses, and millions of residents would have been left without transportation. Nearly extinct Galapagos tortoises, 20th century. By the early 20th century, the giant tortoises of the Galapagos Islands were on the brink of extinction due to hunting and habitat destruction. A restoration program began in the 1960s, and within a few decades, thousands of tortoises had been returned to the wild. Had conservation efforts been delayed, these ancient creatures might have disappeared forever. The nearly canceled launch of the Curiosity rover, 2011. The Curiosity rover, sent to explore Mars, almost stayed on Earth due to financial difficulties and technical problems. The project's funding was revised several times, and engineers encountered difficulties in developing a landing system. If the mission had been canceled, we could have missed important discoveries about Mars's past, including evidence of water. Almost destroyed tower in Pisa, 20th century. The Leaning Tower of Pisa was considered dangerous to visit for a long time and could have been dismantled. In the 1990s, large-scale work began to stabilize the structure. If the engineering solutions had not worked, one of the most recognizable architectural monuments in the world could have been lost.